That sounds incredible, Rick. I'm going to ask you a question that you may not be thinking I'm going to ask you, okay? I'm a city kid, never been hiking, never really been camping, and over the years I hear you talk about these things, and every year I get more and more interested. Right? I'm working on getting in shape. I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight. What would you tell a city kid like me? Because I'm sure there's other men that are in those shoes. Never been hiking. I don't own a pair of hiking boots. I own a sleeping bag, but I don't really use it. What would you tell me?
Well, welcome to the Faithful Fathering Podcast. This is Rick Words, founder and president of Faithful Fathering, where we encourage and equip dads in partnership with the church to be faithful fathers. This podcast series, we're going to talk a little bit about our summer adventures, where we work to create opportunities for dads to have extended one-on-one time with the daughter or son. And so in the studio with me, welcome back a dear friend, Robert Valle. Robert, welcome back.
Thanks for having me on, Rick.
Well,
it's a pleasure.
We're talking about let's hit the father-daughter, father-son trips first, and
let's do it.
Just are you familiar with these? Have you?
I am. I'm familiar from a distance.
All right.
I've not had a chance to go on one.
Oh, yeah, get you up in the mountains one of these days.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Well, Dad's always asked me, is it about quantity time or quality time? And I always say yes. Because we forget sometimes that the kids control the quality, not us.
Right.
We can only invest the quantity.
Right.
Over the years, my daughter and I, when she was 13, up to that point in her life, I hadn't been around much. I was traveling 75-80% of the time. And, I turned around and she was in her teens. And so I had an opportunity to take her on a trip in Sierra Nevadas, where we went backpacking for 4 days. Nice. And it was just a blessing with other kids and their dads. We connected over that week and established a solid marker in our relationship, and really set the groundwork for how we would communicate through her high school, college, and now young adult. She actually turns 40
wow,
this
incredible.
year, this April. So it was such a marker in our life that as in Faithful Fathering, as we grew in ministry and looked for opportunities, other dimensions to add, because our core ministry is to come beside the church and encourage and equip dads to be faithful fathers, which a faithful father, as you know, prioritizes physical presence, is engaged emotionally, and leads spiritually by example. And I did workshops and studies in churches for years. Anybody that would have me, I'd go in and do a workshop or a study. And then we, as the Lord gave us a vision to connect with a group of dads in the church, then we started building core groups where they could do a lot of things inside the body that we couldn't do from without. But the other dimension of that was always, we would have weekend retreats. We do studies for dads, we'd have fun events for dads and kids, and we'd even have weekend retreats for father-daughters or father-sons annually with a number of churches. But I was always hungry for that more extended time to invest in that relationship.
So let me ask you a question. As you're talking, I'm wondering, you had that trip with your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
How long after that did you start the trips with Faithful Fathering? Was it like you had the trip with your daughter and then the next summer you just kind of started doing it? Because you've been doing them for a while. Right.
No, she was 13, and that was probably, she was 86, so that would have been right around 98, 99. So it was even before the founding of Faithful Fathering.
Okay. So some time passed before you were invited to churches to speak, and then you decided I need to do this.
Around 2010, 2011
so
is
quite
when
a
we
while
started
passed.
the father-daughter, and then the year after that we started the father-son retreat, extended trip.
Right.
And
that's what you were saying, that you're wanting those longer, more extended, more secluded kind of
Yeah, where you could just check out of the world,
Right,
and check into into creation, And
Yeah.
so the Lord brought a gentleman into my life back around 2008, 2009, named Chet Russell, and Chet founded Voice of Wilderness.
Okay.
And so that opened the door for us to partner with the ministry to create this opportunity, and that's what we've been doing since 2011 for the father-daughter, and 2012 for the father-son every year since then.
So this will be the 15th year.
This will actually be the 16th.
16th year.
16th year we'll be have been doing this. So it really has been a blessing all the way around, and particularly in that my daughter has been able to help me on this trip, and my son commits a week of his time to help me with the father-son trip.
That is awesome.
And it's really a heart, not it's obviously, as you know, it's a bonus, what I call bonus time when you can hang out with your adult kids.
Right.
But it's really a heart that we know what these trips did for our relationship. Not that the relationships weren't needing fixing; they weren't needing anything. It's just the realization that to really mature in relationship with our kids as they mature, it takes an investment of time.
Right.
And it may not be your deal to go backpacking in the wilderness. We actually go to the San Juan Mountains in southern Colorado for these two trips, because that's where Voice of Wilderness, actually, they provide the permits, they provide the equipment, and all we have to do is get there and have our personal gear like sleeping bags, boots, and that type of thing. But all the food, everything else is taken care of. We have a base camp to work out of. So it's really a fabulous setup. And it opens a door for dads and daughters, or dads and sons, to have the opportunity to invest in their relationships to a new level.
And it's open for dads of sons or daughters, right? Separate trips between what ages?
Well, the father-daughter, they start at age 13 and up. I've had 13-year-old daughters. I've had 36-year-old daughters.
Okay.
And the father-daughter is different in that they're primarily day hikes. The trip opens up. Everyone arrives at the lodge on a Sunday afternoon, and this year it's going to be June 7th to the 13th. 7th is a Sunday, and so the idea is that they get there. We have a good meal on Sunday night, and then Monday we get up, have breakfast, we load up a day pack, and we go on a day trip to 4 Mile Falls. That's about 3.5 miles in and 3.5 miles out. And so it's a good warm-up, a good acclimation hike. Really a testing acclimation hike, because you go back, you go play in the waterfalls a little bit, and you just have the opportunity to we hike in, eat lunch at the falls, play around in there, and then hike out, and we come back, and we always have a session every night to some curriculum that we've developed to stimulate some dialogue around topics that are not natural in our usual day-to-day activity. So that's what we really work to do on the father-daughter. The second day, we load up, we get our backpacks ready. We actually do an overnight down in the Ioka Valley, and that provides a chance to hang around a campfire, do a camp out. We take in the sky in Colorado, in the valley. If it's a new moon, it kind of messes up the stars. If it's a new moon, it's really a beautiful deal. If it's a full moon, then you have just a valley lit up with the beauty of the moon. It's just a fabulous opportunity, again, to see the sky that we don't normally see here in Houston, or any city of any size. But the mountains open up that sky. God really puts on a show to see the Milky Way and the different constellations and the whole 9 yards. So that's the second day we hike in. Third day we hike back out, and we go down to Pagosa Springs for the day to hang out in the hot springs. Let the girls do some shopping in town. The fourth day we do a raft trip down the Animas in Durango. And then the fifth day, we wrap up with another day hike in the area on Anderson Trail. But every night there's that discussion time. I work with the fathers, my daughter works with the daughters, and then they have dedicated one-on-one time right after that session.
The father and the daughter, father and daughter groups.
The father-daughter, they have one-on-one time after they have their respective group time. They have one-on-one time to talk about the parallel curriculums, and then we have maybe an ice cream or something to wrap up the evening. And at the end of the week, for both trips, the dad has a chance to bless his child, and we give guidelines on what that looks like and what they might do to draft that a little bit ahead of time, and then let the week's experience enhance that blessing overall. But it's always a powerful week for the father-daughter relationship. And I think it's always tougher. You've got girls, so I know it takes a little more intentionality to connect with our daughters.
It's harder to connect with my daughters than it is with my son.
Sure, and that's because there's a difference.
Yeah.
He made us male and female.
Like, I don't get that. I don't. Yeah.
So that for me, that transition from when my daughter she'll always be my little girl, right?
Sure.
Even though she's 40 and what have you now, or she will be 40, but I can't relate to her and talk to her like a little girl.
Right.
And that transition time is hard on Dad, because it's a perspective that we always have of our little girl. But we have to learn how to communicate effectively with them and understand how that relationship matures. Just as Christ matured in his relationship with his disciples, even man to man, they went from slaves, that they were understanding their master. Then the master teaches them their business. They were promoted to friends, and then upon his resurrection, they were promoted to brothers.
Right.
And that's a maturing in their relationship, so that they could carry on the ministry. And we have to do the same thing with our kids. So the father-son deal is it's a load up on. They come in on Sunday, Monday morning. We fit the packs and get everything loaded up, get our meals together, and we hit the trail for 5 days. And
so you're gone for 5 days.
We're gone for 5 days, and both trips. We always say we're going to push you a bit physically, emotionally, and spiritually across the week. And the fathers and sons definitely get pushed physically as we carry 40, 50-pound packs and are hiking from anywhere from 6 to 8 miles a day, and we're changing in elevation anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 feet across the week. So it's a test, and but we have a fabulous time. We obviously campfires, same thing. We do have discussions every evening around a curriculum. I work with the dads. My son works with the sons, and then there's I call tent time out there that they would have time in the tent to talk through what the curriculum was addressing that evening. And so that's been a fabulous trip. They can drop a line in the water. We'll catch a couple of lakes while we're up there, and probably run into some snow, have a snowball fight. But the main thing is that we are checking out of the world and checking into the father-son relationship, the father-father relationship, and the son-father relationship. So that's been a fabulous experience. Again, the takeaways that dads and sons, dads and daughters come away with is that this has been just a solid marker in their relationship. That if the relationship was strained, maybe they were able to work through some of that. If the relationship was fabulous, then they got enhanced to a new level of maybe a deeper connection, if not with each other as much as with the presence of Christ in the middle of their relationship. And as we enjoy the Lord's creation to the full on these trips.
That sounds incredible, Rick. I'm going to ask you a question that you may not be thinking I'm going to ask you, okay? I'm a city kid, never been hiking, never really been camping, and over the years I hear you talk about these things, and every year I get more and more interested, right? I'm working on getting in shape. I'm trying to lose a little bit of weight. What would you tell a city kid like me? Because I'm sure there's other men that are in those shoes. Never been hiking. I don't own a pair of hiking boots. I own a sleeping bag, but I don't really use it. what would you tell me
Well,
to convince me?
Everybody, whether you see a kid or anywhere, I mean, you're not used to hiking on rocks and up and down at elevations anywhere from 8,500 to 13,000 feet. You know, we don't do any 14ers on this trip, but we will summit a 13,000 footer. And so those are the things that everybody has to think about. The two primary things are just what you reference is physicality, the conditioning that's needed, and here in Houston that's hard to do. I always encourage if you're working in an office, start using the stairs instead of the elevator. And I had one dad that worked on the 25th floor of the Anadarko Tower in the Woodlands, and he took that serious. And I've never seen a fellow that he didn't miss a step on that that trip because he had really worked it hard. He didn't just do the stairs every day. He did a better time.
Oh, wow. Yeah, he challenged himself.
He really put it out there. That's the extreme. But I would encourage, what I tell guys, I'll start emailing several months before the trip. Have you got your boots? Get your boots. These days, the technology is such that they don't take a lot of breaking in, but it's still good to get your boots on and get used to wearing them and be walking a couple, 3 miles several times a week in your boots. And so
where do you do that?
Just around the park,
at a park?
Around you can go around the park. You can go to Huntsville State Park is a great place to go on a weekend if you want to get a few more miles in. Just go hike the trails up there at Huntsville States Park, so there are a lot of opportunities. I even encourage. There's a lot of parking garages around here. Walk up and down those hills, up a few floors and down a few floors, and
in the hiking boots.
In hiking boots, yeah. And so those are opportunities that you can have to help get in shape. And then the other is to hydrate. When we get to within a month of the trip, if you are inclined to have a carbonated drink, drink sodas or what have you, Cokes, then I encourage stopping that, or at least offset every soda with a full bottle of water. But you really need to start taking in and hydrating yourself. We all walk around normally very dehydrated. And so that's goal number one is get yourself hydrated. But number two is to pull some of those carbonated drinks that dehydrate you out of your system. So when you hit the trail in Colorado, you're fully hydrated and you're ready to go. And we'll work to do our best to have we'll always have the water available and try to keep you hydrated as we go on. So those are the two things I would encourage. And I will share that there was one year that one young man, as a father-son trip, and an uncle brought his nephew, and he had not done anything to prepare. But he was young, and the young kids are resilient, and they can do more than they think they can do, right? But he actually, 25 minutes into a 5-day hiking backpacking trip, he threw down a pack that was not his and said he wasn't going any further. He had just run into wall, just quitting. And to which, 8 men stood over him and said, yes, you are. And he got up and he worked through it, and he got through that wall. And the third day he was throwing snowballs, having a good time. And the way the Lord orchestrated that, Robert, was just phenomenal, because at the end of the trip, he accepted Christ in a baptism in the San Juan River. So there's all kinds. There's always, as my son and I would always say, there's only one person that doesn't want us to have a good relationship, and that's Satan. Yep. And so we're going to rebuke him. And that was the case with this young man. There was a lot of discouragement and a lot of frustration in his life, and he was able to work through that. Now, that's an extreme situation. That's not normal. We normally have everybody, they're pretty well ready to go. We go as fast as the slowest person in the group. And so there's not
because I'll be the guy at the back. Wait for me, guys. Wait.
We don't do that. We keep everybody together, and it's a journey. It's not a race, and so it's really a fabulous week.
That sounds exciting. Sounds like fun.
Well, that's what we're about on this father-daughter, father-son trip. Again, partner ministry is Voice of Wilderness. Dads, you can go to voiceofwilderness.org. This is through Voice. They're a partner. We partner with them to run these 2 trips. And this year, the father-daughter is June 7th to 13th, and the father-son is June 14th to the 20th. So there still are some slots open, and we are limited. We can only have, I think, 14 heartbeats on the trail. So it's a pretty tight trip from a group standpoint.
It's not a huge group.
It's not a huge group, and we normally have it maxed out. So that I do encourage registering early. And if you have any questions, you can certainly call me directly at 281-491-DADS. That's 281-491-3237, or email rick@faithfulfathering.org. And so it'd be a blessing to have you join us, and we'll be ready to rock and roll in the mountains this year. God bless, Godspeed.